council action to approve this application? Made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Danforth. Any questions or comments? Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask this question every year, so I'm going to ask it again. Are there any restricted areas out there where this, where alcohol or where it can be consumed? Whoever wants to, finance officer or city attorney?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Well, I mean, I know there's a beer tent out there. So where, if somebody buys a beer at the beer tent, where can they walk around the entire park then and drink that beer? Or are they restricted to a particular area around the beer tent?
So technically, they would be restricted to, I have not looked at this application, but technically they're restricted to the premises that's licensed, that's where they can consume the purchased alcohol. Now, generally at City Park, you can drink beer that you bring there and on your campsite and that sort of thing. So it's, but as far as alcohol that's sold under this license, it has to be consumed in the described premises, and I'm not sure what that is, to be honest.
I'm not trying to make an issue here, but I know when I was in the chamber board, we always had to be cognizant of where the beer was consumed or is consumed.
I think according to the legal, it's that same footprint we've used every year as far as the actual sale of it. So they are not selling it in the campground; they're selling it in that portion. But to Matt's point, I mean, the consumption of that alcohol should stay there.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the application. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item E is an application for a transfer of ownership of a retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license and video lottery license from Dorothy Harms, doing business as Cloud9 Golf Course, to the 19th Hole Incorporated. Our finance officer, Kristen Bobzien, will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. This one is a transfer of ownership. So with this one, the affidavit, everything was in order and publication was given on this as well. So if there's any questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you very much. I will open up a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment upon this? Close the public hearing, open it up for council action to approve the application.
So moved.
Made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Paulson. Any questions or comments, council? Seeing none, the motion is to approve the application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item F is an application for a new retail wine and cider license to the 19th Hole Incorporated. Finance Officer Bobzien.
Thank you, Mayor. Last one. This is a new one for the wine and cider at that location, 28 North Broadway. Again, everything's in order. Notice was given. If there's any questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you very much. I will open up a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action to approve the application. Made by Councilman Schutte. Thank you very much, Councilman Paulson. Open it up for questions or comments. Hearing none, the motion is to approve the application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Finance Officer Bobzien, it looks like you're done for the night. Thank you very much. Item G is a first reading of Ordinance 22-19, an amendment to the Gateway Overlay District of the revised ordinances of the City of Watertown. Our Public Works Director, Heath Von Eye, will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first reading. This comes by recommendation from the City Planning Commission from their June 9th meeting. They voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend approval to the City Council. A general synopsis of what this amendment does is it looks at Chapter 21, our zoning ordinance, and specifically within 21 is the Gateway Overlay District that requires certain design standards and design criteria for properties that are in what we've defined as the Gateway District as you come into town and then certain areas in and around that area. Some of the requirements in there we found in the last few years to frequently be applied for variances, namely the side yard setback requirements. There have been a couple of variances requested to the Board of Adjustment that would reduce the required 10-yard setback to a 5-foot transitional yard. And what this amendment does is it shifts that 10-yard setback, or transitional yard, I should be calling it, sorry. That 10-foot transitional yard would be reduced to a 5-foot transitional yard when commercial and industrial properties are adjacent to one another. Now, when those commercial properties are adjacent to residential properties, the transitional yard is still, or is proposed to go from 20 feet down to 15 feet. And then when industrial and residential properties are adjacent, the transitional yard would remain at 20 feet. Brandy Hanton, our Community Development Manager, is here with us tonight, and if there are any specific details, her and I can stand by for questions.
Thank you very much. This is first reading, so it's time to ask questions, make comments on this, council. Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. And I follow the Planning Commission or the Board of Adjustment discussions on this, but I'm guessing when this ordinance was originally drafted for the Gateway Overlay District, it was probably patterned after some other community that had a similar development. And if so, I guess I'm wondering, why are we deciding now that this was not good as is and it needs to be changed?
I can try to field that, and I'll ask for Brandy to maybe elaborate. I know that one or two of the instances that came up as part of those meetings and the discussion with the Board of Adjustment, and it had to do with commercial properties butting up against commercial properties, and the logic behind whether there was really a need for that much of a transitional yard when you have a hotel going up against another hotel, for example. And the flexibility that reducing that transitional yard gave them to incorporate their parking lot improvements and things of that nature really helped those projects along, but yet didn't have a huge adverse impact on the intent behind the ordinance. I don't know, Brandy, if you elaborate any specifics on those cases.
Yes, thank you, Heath. And that sums it up for the most part, where it just ended up being, if each property was having a 10-foot transitional yard, it really got excessive for what it was trying to accomplish. And it was really the aesthetics to break up the parking lot and the sea of concrete areas where we were still getting the 10 feet because each property will have 5 feet. So we thought, and just with seeing the amount of variance requests come through, we thought that it was appropriate to make this amendment.
Thank you.
Councilman Beeler.
I'll just make a quick comment. I was actually part of some of those discussions early on, and when we were initially going to develop that area along First Avenue, one of the big concerns was aesthetics, and it really came to begin with, and this thing got changed a lot. But originally it was just to protect the aesthetics with the building construction. If it was, we didn't want a galvanized Quonset hut going in there. That was kind of where that all started. And then it got fine-tuned by others as it went down the road. So thanks.
Councilman Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Hanton, has there ever been a variance request denied for this?
No. There have been 4 requests, and they all have been granted.
Thank you. Councilman Danforth.
This does not affect the setbacks, correct? So this is contained within the setback. So we're not shrinking setbacks. We're just talking about the one area that will not be disturbed. It's protecting the green nature or
Correct.
something along that line, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Councilman Danforth, if you can envision, the current hotel that's out along the Willow Creek Drive and another hotel going in next door to it, and complexes like that as they develop, if you can envision 20-foot strip of grass around both properties in its entirety, 10 feet on each side, those were the kind of requests that were coming forth saying, well, is 10 foot adequate, 5 foot on each side? And that's where the Planning Commission agreed that, yeah, that probably makes sense in that kind of configuration. You've still got some green space there, but the developers can still maximize space on their lot for adequate parking lot improvements, for example. Because the parking lot itself cannot be in this transitional yard, and that was one of the issues that some of these businesses are running up against.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you very much. We will see this item back for a second reading. Item H is an approval of a purchase agreement from the Watertown Development Company with the Watertown Development Company conveying a strip of land between Highway 212 and Jensen Avenue. Our city attorney, Matt Roby, will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works gave me this item just so I could say something at this meeting. So this comes along in conjunction with the next item, which is approval of a plat and an easement agreement. This is in relation to the Montgomery's, the Sinclair family's development adjacent to Montgomery's Furniture. And as part of the economic development nature of this, the city is, the proposal here is that the developers are platting the right-of-way through that parking lot, now parking lot, and in exchange, the city would convey via the WDC the strip of land identified on this purchase agreement. And because it is for economic development purposes, we would convey to the Watertown Development Company, who I was informed the board has approved that transaction, and then they would subsequently convey that to Sinclair Land and Cattle.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to need a motion to approve this before we can discuss it. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve it. Made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Questions or comments, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item I is an approval of resolution number 22-30, the plat of Sinclair First Edition to the municipality of Watertown and utility and access easement agreement. Our Public Works Director, Heath Von Eye, will tell us more.
Thank you, Mayor. I just pulled up a map on Teams that I've shared for reference here. So this is a plat on this property that we've been talking about the last few meetings in regards to some of the previous actions taken to allow the development on this property to commence. So really what the plat would do then is formally designate the 11th Street right-of-way that we've talked about in the recent past, and it would establish the lot configuration for the Sinclair property as they so desire to accommodate the building and the PUD development that they're anticipating to build out there. And then also retains a portion of the city property separate from what we'd be otherwise transacting to them. This plat includes all the necessary easements on it, and with that, I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Made by Councilman Danforth, seconded by Councilman Vilhauer. Any questions or comments, council? Councilman Danforth.
Heath, does this necessitate or will it bring about any road work or curb and gutter work on Jensen? Because I believe all this property right now is just like a, what do they call that when it doesn't have the curb and gutter? And so is that like that south boundary? Will that prompt curb and gutter to go in there?
So Councilman Danforth, what we would anticipate is the developer would build out 11th Street to meet city design standards for what we call an urban street section with curb and gutter. And they would taper that curb and gutter out so that it ties in appropriately with Jensen Avenue. And as you cited, Jensen Avenue does not have curb and gutter along here. It's what we would call a rural street section without curb and gutter. We don't anticipate the need to build that out in the immediate future with curb and gutter, but at some point over time, as we're doing any major reconstruction on Jensen Avenue, it would be a thought we would consider at that point in time.
Any further questions or comments, council? Councilman Vilhauer. I'll make sure I understand completely in my mind. The road that's out there right now for the construction of 212, that's just temporary road, right?
Correct.
Okay, is that gonna be the footprint of the permanent road, or will that come straight through, from 11th Avenue down to, or 11th Street down to Jensen Avenue?
That will come straight through,
Okay.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item J is a two-part, it's going to be two different motions, but it's one subject matter. So the chair is going to allow some leniency in dealing with this. I'm going to read both of them off at first, just because I know when we're talking about them, we're going to be talking about all aspects of it. So, motion 1 will be an approval of a resolution annexing a tract of land to be known as R&R First Edition. Item 2 will be a second reading of an ordinance establishing a zoning designation of A1, which upon annexation will be known as Harmony Hill First Annexation Edition. So 2 different items, both dealing with the Harmony Hill development. And I know I didn't do a great job of explaining that, but I know our Public Works Director, Heath Von Eye, will do a much better job.
Well, I'll see what I can do here, Mayor. I do need to make a correction, however, on the first item. Instead of to being known as R&R First Edition, that's simply a typo there. That is also to read like the second action item, where this annexed land will be known as Harmony Hill First Edition.
Okay, just to clarify for the council, because I haven't taken official action, we can just read it into the record as said there. So I don't need to amend it, so. Thank you.
And with that being said, the annexation is just that. It relates to the Harmony Hill development, and I will get to my map for this subject to show the boundaries being annexed. And I've shared that to teams. The area in white here being outlined is the area being annexed and then subsequently zoned. And it's to accommodate the additional build-out of Challenger Way as one of the primary reasons for this annexation and zoning action. As the sisters have developed this area, their plans have shifted a little bit in their timeline to go ahead and build this road out all the way, and so that's one of the primary drivers for these actions before the council tonight. With that, this was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, I believe unanimously, and I'll stand by for questions.
Chair is going to take a motion to approve the resolution 22-32, but I will allow leniency to ask questions regarding the entire concept of item J on the agenda. So I need a motion to approve the resolution. Oh, public hearing, sorry, first. Is anyone here who would like to comment on this? Hearing no one, I will now ask for a council action to approve. Councilman Tupper, need a second. Councilman Vilhauer. Okay, so questions can be asked on either item 1 or 2, but the technical motion is just approval of the first one. So, council. Councilman Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So there's going to be a thin sliver where Hospitality Avenue kind of goes through there. Is that not going to be annexed? So there's going to be a sliver of stuff not in the city? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, if my screen is still presenting up there, there is a parcel here. You can see the existing city limits sign, or line, excuse me, and call out on this drawing. And that parcel will remain in the county. You're correct.
Follow up.
Follow up, please.
Thank you. So can I ask why not just include that all as a whole sliver? I don't know, I guess
Yeah, I think in part the answer to that, Councilman Paulson, is due to the fact that it's under separate ownership, and I don't believe that the owners wanted to be proprietors to the annexation and zoning at this time. That'd be and Brandy's nodding in agreement that that's in fact why that wasn't included. So
Okay, thank
it
you.
was my assumption, but I'm glad she's able to confirm it.
Any further questions or comments? The motion is to approve the resolution number 22-32. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We are now on to item 2, which we've already read, so I'll open up a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to comment on this? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for council action to approve the ordinance. Made by Councilman Paulson. Seconded by Councilman Schutte. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the ordinance. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item K is an approval of professional services agreement for services associated with the City Hall renovation project with TSP Incorporated. Heath Von Eye, our Public Works Director, will tell us more.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This was an item that we discussed at our work session here this afternoon. And in a short recap of that is TSP is our consultant architect that we've selected for the remodel for the new City Hall building. We originally entered into a nominal $15,000 agreement with them for some initial renditions and layouts of that building. We subsequently did an amendment to that agreement and added roughly a total of up to $190,000 for design work for the entire remodel. We amended it a second time when we decided to redesign the facility and relocate the council chambers from the lower level of the current building to its own standalone structure as an addition to the current structure. And that added about, at the time, $43,000 worth of work that was left in that contract that we just allocated towards that additional design. Now this third amendment before the council this evening wraps everything up now that the design is complete. It adds roughly $95,000 to the contract for a total contract amount of $298,000. Of that $95,000, that was broken down to include roughly $40,000 for additional design services for the existing facility and the additional structure. Roughly $10,000 worth of bidding and procurement services, and then another 40-some grand for. I apologize, I don't have my breakout right in front of me here. For the construction admin. So once the project is bid, all the construction administrative services would be completed by TSP at that point in the project as well. Common for our other architectural designed structures where we keep the architect on the line through the construction phase so they can help field technical questions regarding their design and process pay estimates and things of that nature. So with that, we do have a representative here this evening. Tad Holt is with us from TSP, and he and I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you very much. And for anyone watching or tuning in now for this, we just got done with an hour-and-a-half long work session regarding this where we have asked a lot of questions and vetted this very thoroughly. So if you're seeing lack of conversation right now, it does not mean it has not occurred by any stretch of the imagination. This has been very well vetted by the council. But with that said, I will now open it up for any further questions or comments. Oh yeah, we do need a motion to approve the agreement. Made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Now, any questions or comments? Councilman Danforth.
Do we have to vote on the motion by chance?
What's that?
Do we vote on the motion or?
We will be voting on the motion.
Okay. Here's a question I have. If we vote yes on this, this is committing to the Wells Fargo facility then, correct? As City Hall?
Finance, City Manager Mack, please.
Yes. I'm trying to think of the best way to answer this. You know, the council still has an off-ramp with this particular project once we review the bids. So this commits us to TSP administering the construction of this. It's compensating them for additional design work that they did for the facility that will be bid. Once we receive the bids back, that'll be the final decision point for the council if that is where we're going. Did I
Follow-up,
answer that
Councilman.
correct?
But based on what we've seen with the work in our work session, based on the information that was shared and the concept and the drawings and everything else and all the discussion, barring a major change, meaning probably bids, this would be our anticipated direction then. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're,
Yep.
again, barring that off-ramp issue, this is what we're saying that we're gonna do.
Correct.
Okay.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Question, thank you, Mayor. Assuming that we do, when we get the bids in, then we do approve them, let's say that the bids are coming in higher than what we are estimating at this point. These fees are fixed, is that correct? In other words, it's not contingent upon some overall construction costs then? So, okay, Tad saying you agree with me. Okay, so these fees are fixed, so it's not based upon some percent at this point going forward on the construction costs. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just for Mr. Danforth's comments here, the previous work session was what really helped me clarify some questions, concerns that I have in working through this, and I am seeing tonight as like I say, barring something else that's unforeseen for the off-ramp, I foresee the work session tonight really helped lay it out well for us to properly work through this, so just wanted to, that's where I'm sitting with it.
Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to comment for the public, I think, the viewing public and the folks here tonight. Just want to clarify the fact that we do have expansion capabilities in this facility. We could expand quite a little bit with the new facility that we're in process with. And I just also want to mention that, you know, this we've determined that this is going to be quite a bit less expensive than building new. So just so the public understands that. And it has been, this project's been vetted and it's been looked at for, what, a year and a half now, I'm going to say, somewhere along there. So there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings to get this thing going. Thank you.
Councilman Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Like I said, I know we need this as a facility for our staff and our community. Our current city hall is not doing well in many areas. I was on the fence of voting no or yes, and I was going to vote no because I don't agree with the money. But I'm reluctantly going to vote yes on this project because I do see a need for it, and I don't see another option. This has been vetted way too long, way too much. It's to a point where we need to move forward in one direction or another. And I definitely respect a few of our council members have spent hundreds of hours on this themselves, not including TSP's time. Very thankful for them for accommodating our changes and our timeline too. So, and like I said, I'm going to reluctantly vote yes, not because I'm against TSP, but because I don't necessarily agree where we stand on the money issue. I personally think that there was some other options, including looking at with the street facility. We're building a project there too, knowing that that's not even going to be an option. I think let's just move forward.
Councilman Tupper.
This isn't a question for anybody, but maybe some comment. I'm going to go back about probably 6 years when I was on the council before, when it was determined that this building was seeing its better days, put it that way, and it needed to be something done with it. So it's been heavily vetted by a lot of different people over the years. To Councilman Paulson's comment, you know, maybe putting it together with the street department. I don't disagree, that might not be a bad idea, but when we tried to build a police station someplace other than downtown, the community was in an uproar. I don't think you could build a city hall that, to me, belongs downtown, right in the heart of downtown. I don't think we could build it anyplace else. There's been other locations that have been looked at in the downtown area. None of them ever really worked out. So actually, when the Wells Fargo building came available, I think it was a blessing for the city. So
Thank you very much. Chair would like to say something, taking off my mayor hat and just putting on, I'm just one vote up here. I would like to thank Councilman Paulson for what he said. I believe I'm going to be with him in that. I want to thank so many people out here. I want to thank Councilman Vilhauer and Bueller in particular for the work that they've put in. City Manager Mack, our staff in particular, have put in a lot of work, TSP Architects. This is going to be an imperfect analogy, but I liken this a little bit to, let's say if one of my daughters brought home a boyfriend, and I just, you know, it's like I just don't see what she sees in him. I just can't get on board. And I'm not going to fight it because I don't think it was that serious. But then all of a sudden, they say, hey, wait a minute, I think we're going to get married. And then I go, oh. I have a hard time getting behind it. But once that decision is made, and if she says yes, which the city of Watertown and this council did at the last meeting, we said yes. So at that point, as a father of the bride, or in this case as mayor, I am going to get 100% behind the project to unite Watertown and move it forward. The past misgivings that I had are in the past. We're looking at the future now, and we want to make this the best project as possible for the future of Watertown, and we're all going to get behind it because together we can make anything a success, even a bad boyfriend. But I do not want to say this is a bad boyfriend. I want to thank the staff. I can't say that when I'm going to vote 100, I'm going to vote yes. I'm probably not 100% yes, but after this moment, this project is moving forward, and you will hear me be the biggest cheerleader for this project and for the city of Watertown. So let's get this daughter married. Councilman Tupper.
I got one comment, and that's, I've heard some strange analogies before, but that one takes the cake. So thank you, Mayor.
I was just trying to come up with something to explain how you can have misgivings, but yet still get behind something. And that's all that I was trying to do. And like I said, it might be imperfect, but I hope the council and the public will grant me some leniency on that.
I just can't wait to see the mayor at all the holidays upcoming now.
And I just want to say, I have one daughter married. This is not about my son-in-law. Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. And just so the public understands that the mayor will have his own office now, under the steps, behind the bathroom, I believe. Is that under the steps? Anyway, no, I just wanted to mention too for the public that, you know, we are considering what we can do with the existing footprint, this facility, this property, and as we progress forward, we have more information and we know exactly what we're going to do with the new design and so forth. I'm sure that we will put feelers out to see what value this property holds for the city to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? The motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Councilman Tupper.
That's also what the minister says when they're getting married, is will you say aye?
If anyone here has any reason why this city and building should not be united, speak now or forever hold their peace. Yeah. Okay. Item L is an approval of the professional services agreement for a financial management plan with Ehlers? With E-H-L-E-R-S. Ehlers. We'll go to our city manager, Amanda Mack, for more.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll probably be turning this over to our finance officer. As you will recall, this was discussed at our work session last week. The proposal in front of you is for Ellers, a financial, public financial management entity, to assist the city in building a financial model that we can use now and well into the future to help us map out our financial plan for the next 10 years. It's a forecasting tool that we can use. One change to the proposal that has come since the work session is we have requested that instead of them reviewing the Triple B fund, we would add the Park and Rec fund in there. So it'd be 4 funds that they would look at: the Capital Improvement Fund, Park and Rec, the General Fund, and the Wellness Center. What this does for us, as I've said, is it gives us a tool to forecast and help us prepare better, clearer information as it relates to the city finances, specifically when it comes to budgeting. You all requested that I reach out to them for references, which I did. They provided 5. I did call all 5. I was able to connect with 2 of the references who gave glowing comments. Largely what I have found in with the references, but also in some work that I had done several months ago when we were thinking about this, is that it really is an internal tool that staff uses to manipulate different scenarios. One thing that this that this council and previous councils have discussed are potential additional revenue sources. So, a stormwater utility or a front footage assessment or looking at the property tax levy, things like that. This tool helps us model in those different scenarios and can help us make more informed decisions. With that, I'll turn it over to Kristen to provide any additional information. The cost of the project is not to exceed $23,100. We can add additional funds for additional costs in the future if we deem necessary. With that, I'll turn over to Kristen and stand by for questions.
Finance Officer Bob Zine.
Thank you. I really have nothing to add, but if there's questions, I can try.
Compelling testimony. We do need a motion to approve this agreement, made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Open it up for questions or comments, Council. Councilman Danforth.
Well, first of all, I reviewed, Amanda has supplied some, what do you want to call it, an example probably? Sample or example of what this might look like, and I spent a lot of time looking at that today, and I think that the need for the tool is important, and I'm going to support it. And I have a lot of reservations, and I liken it to having a daughter and a new boyfriend. No, I won't go there. But I do have some concerns. But like any tool, we have to understand what its purpose is and how we're going to use it. How we're going to use it does give me some concerns. There's a lot of assumptions to be made. There's a lot of inputs that are going to go into this in order for this to start off and be used. What clearly has to be understood is those inputs will never have been vetted by the council before they come in there, before they're entered. And so whatever gets entered is not a commitment on our part as to what might happen 1 or 2 or 3 years out until there are a lot of discussions and prioritizations and things that occur. If we use it as a tool and if we have the ownership, meaning this body of people here, and not whether it's Eilers, Ehlers, or whoever they are, they can't tell us how to run our community. We have to be the ones to do that. Now, they can offer input, they can offer advice, but ultimately we are the owners of it. And so my support is knowing how we're going to use it and knowing that we're the owners of it. And then I understand and can support this agreement that we're going to enter into it. And because I do see it as an important tool for us. So that said, I'll support it as long as we know how we're going to use it.
Thank you, Councilman. I think our city manager, Mac, would have some comments to go off of that as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to address those comments, Councilman Danforth, I completely agree. I would not want to engage with a firm who's just going to hand us something that they've created in a vacuum by themselves. my goal for this, and in coordination with our finance office, really is to work with them to create something that is very specific to Watertown and what our current and future needs are going to be. As we've spent the last year talking about finances and talking about strategy, this helps inform our strategy a little better, which is going to be very specific to us. We own it. Also, it's a tool. It's not the budget. It's not, it's not an ongoing plan. It's a model that's built for us to be able to input as things change and be malleable, I think is the right word that we're looking for. So I think your comments are well founded, and that's not the intention, nor what I based off of what I've learned from the other communities, how they operate either.
Councilman Villauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple comments and a couple questions, too. I think this is very timely in light of our conversation that we just had during our work session, considering looking at our financial resources and needs going forward with all the things going on. So I think it's very timely. I support this. I supported it at our work session last week. As an accountant working in that field my entire career, let me back up one step. I think we get criticized at times that we utilize an awful lot of consultants out there, and I think at times we probably do sense that. I think by and large we're well served by those consultants. But I look back to my career as an accountant. There were any number of times over the years where there was something that came up that either I did not have the expertise and was very openly admitted that, or just flat out didn't have the time. We had a cadre of resources out that we would turn to on a regular basis to get us the information that we would need to help benefit our clients, and I definitely see that as how we would use this. I don't think there's any shame whatsoever in reaching out, and I'm looking at our finance officer. We have a great finance officer here, so I don't think there's any shame that we're looking out to outside experts to help us build this model that we will utilize or look at going forward. Now, I do have a couple questions, though. One thing that did catch my eye, it's $23,100, and based upon the hourly rate, only provides for about 88 to 90 hours of time on Eller's part. Is that adequate for what we're hoping to achieve out of this? Whoever wants to address that.
City Manager Mack.
I can attempt to. In their references that they sent, and I forwarded that to all of you, they do include how many funds, the scope of work, and how many hours it took them to actually build the system. So while I can't directly speak to if that's enough hours or not, I do trust that they've budgeted appropriately for that. For example, the city of Burnsville, Minnesota, it took them 175 hours to complete theirs, and they created a dashboard. They did multiple meetings with council, and they do some consistent updating for them. So I think we're on target for that.
Okay, thank you, Manager Mack. And I saw those references as well, and the numbers, the hours involved. So I guess it looks reasonable. I couldn't help but question that a little bit. And secondly, I mean, have we budgeted or did we anticipate expending this when we approved our budget for 2022?
We did. We had talked about this as part of strategic planning and ongoing development.
Okay, I am all in favor of getting a fresh set of eyes to look at our operations and see where, I think you made the comment last week, Councilwoman Schutte, that might only take one minor suggestion on their part to more than pay for the fees that we'd be paying them. So I like the idea.
Any further questions or comments? Councilman Bueller.
I'll just make one, and that is, I know in the motion we say not to exceed $23,100. And I think that's good. I would think we've got that covered, but I do think we need to evaluate their services a year from now. Mm-hmm. And if we do, I mean, if it has been a really good program for us and we need to expand that, then perhaps we do that, or we discontinue that contract. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Councilman Schutte.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. When it comes to any department with the city, just the way I like to try to to run things even at the ministry we have downtown is to have the proper equipment, the proper tools, the proper resources. So the people that are doing their job, whatever that is, they're able to do it better and do it well. So just like having the right equipment at the fire hall or something like that, having the right tools for what you're doing, I see that as an asset. And yes, the return on investment, something like this, I got a feeling will play out well. So that's why I'd be for this as well.
Finance Officer Bob Zine.
Thank you, Mayor. The only piece that I'll add, I think what is going to be a real benefit to the council in regards to this is we have always done our capital long-term plan, and we get to see those projects. We get to see them. What the council doesn't get to see is what that does to our fund balance. We just spent a good hour and a half talking about a project and an unrestricted fund balance. What this will give us that ability to do as we look at it is to see how that unrestricted fund balance is affected by some of these decisions. I've always stated that we have that comfort level, and this will kind of give us that big picture of how that comfort level kind of looks and what some of those decisions could do to it. So that's where I see the benefit. So.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Chair would just like to say that I agree with the comments from my esteemed colleagues that they have said earlier that I am in favor of this one, but I retain the right to be skeptical of future consultants hired. Not anything against that, but in this case, totally in support of getting a consultant, especially on this, because it deals with money, and that is our number one priority in taking care of people, but it does come down with the money that you can spend. So, but I do know that there are other times where consultants are hired where I'm just not automatically going to be in charge of that or in favor of that. So just want to warn people so we're not being hypocritical. We're not. It's by a case-by-case situation and not just on consultants in general. So any further comments? Motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We do have a new business item, and the chair, I just want to stay on, since we're talking about actual items to be voted on. I don't want to go into old business in case we get talking on a tangent. So unless the council disapproves, I'm going to go to new business now because we do have an item that has come up just today that we need to deal with. Finance Officer Bob Zine, would you please explain what this item is?
Thank you, Mayor. We had a last-minute request to process a fireworks permit for Big Shots, and it's going to be at Prairie Winds Golf Course. It is July 1st, and it has been approved by the fire department. It just didn't get onto the agenda in time. I do know that Fire Chief Roland did hand out the permit so that the council had a chance to review it. So with that, if there's any questions, that's the item.
Thank you very much. Could we get an official reading of it?
Let's do the language to say approval of a pyrotechnics or open flame permit application for a fireworks display at 555 South Lake Drive on July 1st.
All right. That will be the official motion. Do I have a motion made by a councilman? Do you have a question, Councilman? Okay. Made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Danforth. Now we will open it up for questions and comments. Councilman Paulson?
Thank you. Can I just ask why these come to council?
I had the same question.
And
City Manager Neck?
That's a, and I don't know why.
I can answer that.
Our fire chief can't just.
Fire Chief Don Rowland, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Past history, that's what we did in the past, and we've just done this for quite some time. And maybe Councilman Danforth or Councilman Velhauer could remember why we did that, because you guys, and Councilman Tupper as well, there's been some history here. I think it was just, we had a issue that happened out at City Park one time years ago that did get vetted through the council, and somebody got were a little upset about the process, if you remember it, that years past, maybe 5-6 years ago, and that's why we made that change.
Attorney Roby?
Yeah, it's an ordinance. I mean, that's the short answer.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, you can change it. You can change it, but it's not just past practice, it's in ordinance. So it just seems to be-
Councilman, would anyone like to speak before Councilman Paulson asks a follow-up, Councilman?
I guess I don't know what the council's thought is on it, but I would ask that they don't need to come to council anymore to make an ordinance change.
City Manager Mack.
That's something that we can add to the list to review when we go through recodification. When that process is ongoing, there'll be an opportunity to look at all of those kinds of things. Does it still make sense with this form of government? Who are the decision makers on different items? So, Attorney Roby, you want to add that to the list?
Councilman Danforth?
This kind of goes along the lines of some of the street dances that we allowed in the past, and there was a lot of communication from the public, and there's still always is with street dances. There's those that like them, and there's those that think they're too loud, and they could live in Rawville and hear it, and you might complain. But so it kind of came along those same lines of something that's really not ordinary, and it's intrusive. Both of those are intrusive, and so we had concerns that they should come to council because we're the ones that are going to hear about it. If we don't come to council, we don't know about it, and that's both how street dances have kind of evolved over time, and that's why this has come here. But it's on the consent agenda. This one just missed it. Otherwise, it would be on the consent agenda. So,
Councilman Tupper?
I have to agree with Councilman Danforth. I remember when we asked to have that changed when I was on the council before, just for those same reasons. And normally, I guess Mike just covered that too, is normally would be on the consent agendas. So it's basically letting us know, so we know, so when we get somebody from the public call, that we're aware of what's going on before it happens. So.
City Manager Mack, you had something to say?
It's just on new business tonight because we didn't receive the application in time. Otherwise, it would be on consent.
Councilman Beeler? Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay, the motion is to approve the fireworks, whatever, permit. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Since I had moved over to new business, I will stay on new business. Is there any new business, council? Go on to old business. Uh-oh, who's bringing donuts next time? Okay, we will forgive the chief. Any old business? Councilman Danforth.
we've talked in the past about the bike trails and where there's been times due to construction that they've needed to be cut through, whatever the term is. I noticed another one today, and I don't know what our policy is or what our ordinance states or whatever it is, but when those bike paths are accessed, cut away, disturbed, whatever that is, that poses, in my opinion, a reasonable risk to those people that are using those. There's all the way from very young people to old people to walkers to runners to people on bikes in the day and the night. And I'm not seeing where these bike paths, with the exception of the one by Compesca Lodge, where there's no signage, there's nothing there that would indicate that there's a problem up in front of you. I think that has to be a part of whoever is the one that is, I'm going to use the word disturbing, I'm not sure whatever I would use there, but that is creating that disturbance in the bike path. And then we need to find a way for those things to get fixed, even if it's temporary, so that somebody's not going to get hurt. If I saw another one today out by the golf course, Prairie Winds, there's probably a 3 or 4 foot section of that that's cut away, and it's just dirt. Somebody's going to get hurt, and I don't even know if we have a policy or requirement about marking or something, but something has to happen. It's great to see all the activity around town that's creating these problems, right? That's great, but let's take care of that bike path. We're asking for someone or someones to get hurt, and then we'll put signs up. So again, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that to staff and Amanda. Something has to be done that when that's disturbed in regards to marking of it, in regards to fixing it, and in a timely manner, so.
Thank you. Any further old business? Any liaison member reports? Any announcements? Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that the zoo, a benefit the zoo's going to have called Sippin' Safari. Here's a little poster. We'll hang these up. But I just want to put a plug in for this. Glenn and I work with the LAZS committee. We had a meeting today. And it's on Friday, June 24th from 6 to 9. It's an adult function. Tickets are $40, and we'd urge people to bring some extra cash because they have games and raffles and that kind of thing. And this is an effort to support the zoo. They'll have various foods to sample there. They'll have food trucks, pizza, barbecue, desserts, that kind of thing. Beer, wine, and liquor will be served at this function. There will be raffles and games and entertainment. There'll be comedians and a couple other groups to entertain folks. So I would urge everyone to support the zoo and go out and have a good time on June 24th from 6 to 9 p.m. And the other announcement I'd like to make, Mayor, is I'd just like to congratulate Amanda Mack on her, it's a year today that she started here, and she gave us all these, they're little high heel cookies and pumps, I guess you call them. I don't know, but they're really good. And but I think it's great. It went by fast, and I can't believe how well she's adapted to all the things that are going on here, and to come in here with all the personalities and all the folks that you have to deal with throughout the city, which we have great people. And find out where all the bodies are buried. You know, I just think, yeah, and I just think she's just done a great job of adapting to all the needs of the people in the community at this point. So maybe give her a little hand.
Councilman Tupper.
I just want to give a little early announcement. On the 4th of July, we will be having our parade again. Of course, it's going to start with the parade. Tim, what time does that start? 2? Okay, don't know. 2 o'clock, I believe. And then later on in the day, we'll be moving out to the Anza soccer field where we will have our annual 4th of July fireworks display. It will be the largest professional display in the state of South Dakota. So I'd like to thank a lot of local people, a lot of local businesses that have been knocking on their doors, and they've stepped up and helped us do this again this year. So just a big thank you to all of them that have stepped up. We're going to have bouncy houses starting at 6:30, I believe, till 8:30 at Anza Soccer Field, so you bring your kids out early. No, Bruce, I'm not going in the bouncy house, so neither me or you are. So, but just everybody come on out and enjoy it. It's going to be a great show.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Probably have a little bit of a downer here. We probably had some upset people. I drove around the lake yesterday. Granted, yesterday was the first time that Juneteenth was a holiday, and it fell on a Monday, so it disrupted garbage pickup. Awful lot of garbage dumps were setting out yesterday that people did not get the message. But I would encourage, it's not only this holiday, but it happens quite often. Really encourage people to take advantage of the sign-up options available for, getting email alerts, text alerts. If they go on the city website, it's very easy to sign up. If I can figure out how to do it, anybody can figure out how to do it. So, and it works. But like I say, a lot of garbage dumpsters out were not picked up yesterday. So I hope our landfill people didn't take too much grief, our staff. But I really encourage people to take advantage of sign-up options that are out there.
Thank you very much. Any further announcements? Councilman Danforth?
I do have a question. I know when we had our storm earlier this year that the people could take their branches and stuff out to the landfill. Did that expire, or I would suggest if it expired that we take a look at that again.
It's currently open.
Is it open?
Yeah.
So, okay, and that's for individuals, not companies to?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is actually one of the public service announcements that went out through the program that Councilman Vilhauer just referenced that people can also sign up for, but the Watertown Solid Waste Division of Public Works did send that out just today, that they will be open through Saturday, July 2nd, for free residential dumping of tree limbs and branches, similar to what we did with the recent windstorm that came through. Yeah,
Any further?
apologize, Mayor. And they request you bring a copy of your municipal utility bill to identify you as a resident of the city.
Any further announcements? Oh, yes, there will be a special council meeting this upcoming Monday. That'd be June 27th at noon. One item as far as I know of, which is a liquor license. So, next Monday at noon, special council meeting. Be there. And tomorrow is happy birthday to our finance officer. All right. Hearing no further announcements, we have no need to go into executive session. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Paulson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Good